So let me introduce Jimmy. I've had a chance, as I mentioned before, to work with Jimmy. He's really a very brilliant guy who's been in the sales business for quite a long time, particularly in the public sector world. He and I worked at Computer Marketing Associates together several years ago. And Jimmy spent a bulk of his career in the Washington, D.C. metro area. He's been consulting for technology companies for quite a long time, including everything from Fortune 500 companies to small businesses. He's worked with Microsoft, HP, VMware, and so forth. And he recently authored a book, How to Win Business from the Government. It's a tactical guide to understanding the U.S. federal government information technology marketplace. And what we're going to do at some point after this event is over is probably have a book giveaway for people who are interested in getting that. So right now, I'm going to turn things over to Jimmy because I don't want to waste time because we want to certainly open things up to questions. And Jimmy's going to kick things off with his 10 minutes, 3 goals, and go through that. Without further ado, Jimmy, take it away.
Thanks a lot, Mike. Very happy to be here, folks. We're going to get ready to buckle up, shift into 4th gear, and hit the ground running hard. We have, when the information I'm giving you is out of the book, it's also out of a lot of the classes that I teach, and we're going to give you a condensed version of it. The goal, when you get done this webinar, is to be able to walk away to understand where the DME, or new funding, is for 2012 in the IT budget, how you can create a sales pipeline of qualified deals, and lastly, after you create that pipeline, how do you execute cold calls and emails into the government to get meetings to move things along the sales pipeline to ultimately position your company to bid a deal. Mike, if we could go to the next slide. The first thing we're going to talk about is research. For the purposes of today's call, we only have time to focus on the budget, but I want you all to really focus in that the strategy plans, the 300s or the business cases, the PART program assessment rating tools, GAO and OIG report, forecasts that you can get from the GovWin community are all critical when you're making your sales pipeline. What's very important about the budget, in the next slide please, is when you go out to the federal budget, you have the link there. It's whitehouse.gov, OMB/egov/docs. You're going to scroll down to the Documents Archive and click on the Federal IT Spending Report for the year 2012. And when you download this, Mike, you can go ahead and click to the next slide. You're actually going to get a 6,000 plus line item Microsoft Excel spreadsheet. And it's going to literally list all of the IT purchases for each of the agencies. If you're sitting there right now, try to download this. And what you want to really look for, and I've got it highlighted here in yellow, but the current budget year, 2012, which begins here very shortly at the end of September, what's highlighted, you'll see, is the DME, which stands for Development, Modernization, and Enhancement. There's 2 kinds of money that are in the budget that you need to pay attention to. One is steady state. These are the costs for people, light, pencils, papers, computers, and everything to keep a project going. The DME is the new money, and as you're looking for your pipeline for 2012, you want to focus on where the new money is. Go ahead, Mike.
Okay.
I'm sorry, do we have a question?
I don't hear it here, but why don't you keep on going, Jimmy? It's fine.
Okay, great. I heard something coming in the background. Well, let me talk to you. So right now, what we've done is we've told you where to go on a website, how to download the federal IT budget. Once you get this Excel spreadsheet downloaded, what do you do with it? I mean, trust me, I've done it. I've looked at all 6,000 budget line items, and it's very time-consuming. This is what I suggest for most companies to do. Grab all of your company's material, look at everything you do, and start making a list of 30 to 50 keywords that your company does. Let's say you're a traditional CETA contractor, systems engineering technical assistant. Go and make a list of everything you do. Maybe it's legacy migration, security, data management, virtualization, you name it, make a list of it. And what you want to do with the spreadsheet, and you can see on the slide, and again, this is a massive document. When I teach these in classes, we'll spend almost an hour going through this, but you can see the tab there. We've hit the tab for agriculture. you hit Control F, and you type in the word that you want. What this will help you do is begin to narrow down where the opportunities are that are germane to you and your company. So again, before we move off of this, this is a really important point. Download the budget, make a list of everything your company does, go through your target agencies, and using the Control F feature, look for keywords, and what you'll get is a 250-word description of what the government is doing with that keyword. And the ideal situation is you find a match with your company that has new funding in it for next year. Mike, let's move on. Now, what's really important for you all to do is when you get all this research, you're not just going to look at the budget. We listed some other geez, I'm getting tongue-tied. We listed some other areas that you should look at, from GAO reports to OIG to the business cases to the part. And typically when I do a go-to-market research or create a pipeline for clients, I go through all these sites and I come back with a ton of information. It's an overwhelming amount. And what I ultimately have to do is weight the research and upload it into some kind of spreadsheet. Now, this is an example on a 20-point scale. What I'm looking for is deals that rank between 15 and 20 points. Those are the ones I'm going to go after. I'll let you read this for yourself, but you want to look at always the funding and timing of an opportunity, past performance, can you really do it, and how well you know the customer. And it's not always about past performance. Sometimes it's the ability to show a commercial example and leverage that in. So again, you can make your own scale, whether it's 20, 25 points, but you want to start assigning a value to the research. Mike, if you go to the next slide, what I typically do when I do all this research is I put things in order. I'll put a deal number, I'll put a priority, where again, deals that rank 15 to 20 points, I give them a priority 1. Priority 2 is a little bit lower. I give a quick description of it and what the total value of the deal is. Now, this is sometimes something that confuses a lot of people that are in sales. If we see a $2 million deal, let's say that's coming out of Health and Human Services, doesn't necessarily mean it's $2 million to your company. And one of the beautiful things that you can go out and read is a business case for any government opportunity. And in those business cases, they give you a detailed description of what the percentage is for hardware, software, and services. So the example I'm using, let's say it's a $2 million opportunity, but you may find that it's only $80,000 in software. You might find it's $500,000 in services. Again, you're going to have to make an estimate on that, but what's the real value? The next thing you want to look at is timing. How's the government going to bid this? Is it going to be a full and open procurement? Are you going to be able to do it off of GWAC or GSA? And do you have enough time to go down, meet some of the decision makers, and show them your unique selling proposition? Typically, on any government deal, about 3 months before the RFP is set to come out, many government executives will go in what I call an unofficial blackout period where they don't talk to vendors. So you've got to be mindful of the timing to make sure that you can talk to everyone. Last thing you want to look at is if you're not an incumbent, you need to list examples of how you can help that agency solve the problem. Years ago when I first got into this game 20 years ago, it was always government best practices, what you're doing in the government. That certainly has changed. And if you're able to come in and show an example that you're doing with a commercial entity and how you've improved your process, the government absolutely take notice. The last part of this, so again, let me back up a quick gear. We've done all this research through the budget. We're loading stuff up in the spreadsheet. Is you've got to make a call plan to ultimately begin the sales process and start talking to people. Mike, would you go to the next slide, please? When you make a call plan, there's a bunch of folks that you want to try to talk to. You want to talk to the COTAR. That's the Contracting Officer's Technical Representative. A lot of times, they have great insights onto the technical specs of any opportunity. The CO, the Contracting Officer, they can give you information about when a bid's coming out, what the RFP schedule is, how they're going to buy. The end user, and this is something to really pay attention to. Sometimes the end user is a government agency. Sometimes it's the citizen. It varies. If you're in civilian agencies, it might, it leans more towards the citizen. If you're in defense agencies, it's about that Army or Navy person that's out there on the ground. So always make sure you get access to the end user and understand how the technology will improve or better enhance what they're doing. The other area that I always like to talk to are odds to boos and sad boos. What I focus in there are the percentages of any deal that may have a small business percentage. I like to talk to firms bidding on the opportunity. There's a massive amount of information that you can pick up from both competitors and other people bidding on it. And lastly, and I think we kind of hit on this, there's a federal end user and then there's a citizen end user of ultimately what happens with the procurement. Make sure you understand how all that connects. Next slide, please. This is a really important thing, and if you were to have two takeaways from our time here together, one would be to be able to access the budget and find the money. The second thing is making a business case to the government. I just want to make a couple quick points here. Get your ducks in a row. Understand what the problem is, the cost associated with that problem, and the solution that you do. Remember, a return on investment is done by improving hours and saving money or by improving a process. And whenever you're making a business case to the government, you must get internal support on this. And when we go to the question and answer, I can share with you some stories. But again, the biggest mistake companies make is they, Mike, and you can flip to the next slide, is they go into the government and they talk more about their size, their rank, who they are, and what they do, and they're very limited on what they identify the government problem as. When I coach companies for a government meeting, I generally tell them to do this. The first two slides of your PowerPoint should be about the government agency, their mission goals. The third slide should be about the problem. The fourth slide should identify how you fix that problem and your unique selling proposition. If you choose, the last slide should be about your company, your size, and whatever. But again, it's always about the government, their issues, and their problems. So I want to thank you for giving me a few minutes here to go through these slides. Mike, I'll hand it back over to you now.